The importance from the businessman's point of view. What are the importance from businessman's point of view? First one is businessmen uses society's resources. They use the society resources and make the goods and supply the goods. Businessmen use resources of the society. They earn profit by supplying goods and services to the members of the society. So, this is an importance for the businessman. Then, social responsibilities. A businessman has a social obligations towards the customer. All the businessman has a social obligation towards the customers. It is the responsibility of the businessman to provide quality goods at a reasonable price. So this is an importance for the businessman. Businessman has a social obligations towards the customer. So they will do that responsibility to the provide the quality of goods at a reasonable price. The third importance is government intervention. If businessmen want to avoid the intervention of government, they avoid the interventions of government and they should not involve in unfair trade practices. Then the businessman should voluntarily involve in the activities which protect the interest of the consumer. If they avoid the interventions of government and they should not involve the unfair trade practices, the businessman will voluntarily involve in the government activities or government intervention which protect the interest of the consumer. Then fourth one is consumer is the purpose of business. The main purpose of business is consumer because their products are consumed by the consumer or by the consumer. The basic purpose of business is to create more and more customers. The purpose of the business is to create more and more customers and retain them, and businessman can create more customers only by satisfying the customers and protecting the interest of the consumers. The base purpose of the business is to create more and more customers. The important purpose of business is create more and more customers at customers. So the businessman create more customers only by paying their customers. Businessmen create more customers by satisfying their customers and protecting the interest of the customers. The businessman can retain and create more and more customers by satisfying customers and protecting their interest of the customers. The customer is the purpose of business. These are the importance of Consumer Protection Act. Next we will see the scope of Consumer Protection Act. What are the scope of Consumer Protection Act? Requirements to performance, composition of the products, contents, design, construction, finish, packaging of consumer product. All this will area the Consumer Protection Act is needed. The requirements as to kind, class, grade, dimensions, weight and material, all these areas, this is essential. Then requirements as to method of sampling, test and codes used to check the quality of the products. These are the scope of Consumer Protection Act. And requirements as to precautions in storage, transporting and packaging. These all areas the Consumer Protection Act, the scope. Then requirements that consumer product be marked with or accompanied by clear and adequate safety warnings or instructions or requirements respecting the form of warning or instructions. All these areas, this consumer protection, the scope of Consumer Protection Act. Scope of Consumer Protection Act requirements to performance, composition, contents, design, construction, finish, packaging of the consumer product. Then requirements as to kind, which class, grade, dimensions, weight and material. Then requirements as to methods of sampling, which method is used, test and codes used to check the quality of the products. Then requirements as to precautions in storage, what all precautions used in storage, transporting and packaging. Requirements that the consumer product be marked with or accompanied by clear and adequate safety warnings or instructions, or requirements respecting the form of warning or instructions. These are the areas of the scope of the Consumer Protection Act. Next we will see the needs of Consumer Protection Act. The needs of Consumer Protection Act. First one is social responsibility. It is the moral responsibility of the business to serve the interest of the consumers. First need is the social responsibility. It is the moral responsibility of the business to serve the interest of the. Second one is increasing awareness. The consumers are becoming more mature and conscious of their rights against the malpractices by the business. Now the increasing awareness. Consumers are becoming more mature and conscious of their rights. Now the consumers are becoming more mature and conscious of their rights against the practices by the business. And more mature, their awareness are increasing. They know where to go and how to do if the businessmen are do the malpractices. So first one is the social responsibility, then one is the increasing awareness. Then consumer satisfaction. Father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi had once given a call to the manufacturers and trades to treat your consumers as God. Father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi had once given a call to the manufacturers and traders to treat your consumers God. Treat consumers as like God. Then survival and growth of business. The business has to survive. Business has to serve consumer interest of their own survival and growth to continue. The business has to serve the consumer interest for their own survival and growth to continue. For the survival and growth of the business, they should serve the consumer interest. Then principle of trusteeship. The resources are supplied by the society. They are merely the trustee of the resources. Those are supplied by the society. They are the trustees of